the Cleveland Browns just selected a dog. And here's the thing. It's an undrafted free agent, but they just signed a beast of a running back. And sometimes I don't understand scouting because when you watch the tape on this guy, I understand not all the size or not, the size is there. The measurables are even kind of there. The tape is definitely there, but the stats aren't necessarily there except for 1 year. And so I am just really, what's the word I want to use? Intrigued by this prospect. And I thought the Browns had a very mature draft, but I want to talk specifically about one running back, and his name is Aiden Robbins. And as you can see here, the Browns have done a good job bringing a few different players in. I want to talk about Amarian Brown from South Carolina. They gave him $150,000 guaranteed. That usually tells you a little bit of something. I'll probably do another video on him in just a couple of days. But today I want to talk about Aiden Robinson, and the reason I want to talk about him is right here. He's 6'2", 237 pounds. Now, do me a favor. When you're done listening to me talk about him, I want you to go ahead and just find a highlight film of him on YouTube, right? Because, and yes, I understand everybody looks good in highlights. First off, no, they don't. He looks like he has burst. He does not move like a guy who's 240 pounds, pushing 240 bills. He doesn't look like that. When you look at him, he has some strengths. All right. He has one of the biggest frames at the position in the country. All right. And he can play to his size. He can break tackles. All right. I mean, this is a guy who's pretty much almost as big as the King. All right. As King Henry. All right. He's a booming downhill back that punishes arm tacklers who don't have the momentum to help interrupt him. He knows his strengths, he knows his weaknesses as a runner, and he doesn't try and be someone he's not. In other words, he's not this guy that's going to like be all over in the backfield trying to juke you out of everything. It's nope, there's the whole hit hole. All right, he's fast enough to sprint through said hole and get to the gap or an outside zone rush. He can create havoc for defensive backs who get in his way. If he gets to that second level, it's a problem. He has good vision on interior runs. Like, this is a guy, and I'm some of this I'm coming up with on my own. Some of this is right on Pro Football Networks. He's a capable pass catcher. He has a high upside as a pass blocker. Yeah, because he's the size of a tight end. All right, and he had relatively low usage in college. We're going to talk about that. In fact, I want to give you the stats right now. If you look at him, he started off his career in Louisville. All right, and he barely played. He had 2 carries for 41 yards as in his second year there. I mean, technically he was a redshirt freshman. Okay, and one of them was like a 40-yard touchdown run where he showed the burst and he showed how good he could be. All right, then the next year he transfers to UNLV where, you know what, he has a really pretty good season. The problem is UNLV has a crap offensive line, so he's sitting there just struggling at 4.8 yards per carry, and then he goes to BYU. And BYU plays almost everything out of the shotgun. So he's standing next to the quarterback, and look, he can be effective in that, but that's not where he's the most effective. He's the most effective lining up in the backfield and running downhill. It's nice for him to show that he can do multiple different things, but that's not where he was the most effective. It did help him improve on his pass blocking chops and things like that, but I'm blown away by him. Now, does he have some limitations? Yeah, of course. All right, his lateral movements, kind of like slight jukes and dekes, but like I thought he was really good. His start-stop isn't going to be as fast. I mean, he's 240 pounds. All right. Sometimes he can stop his feet and struggle to return to speed. He could be more creative. Yep, when avoiding tacklers. I get that. Totally fine. And he can be boom or bust as a runner. Like, you'll see his highlights. He has a bunch of big runs, but he also has a bunch of little runs, which doesn't make sense. All right? It doesn't make sense. And he profiles best as a number 2 back with his powerful downhill style. So why is this a big deal for the Cleveland Browns? Because you could be like, what are you talking about? Our running back room is absolutely full. All right, we got Nick Chubb, hopefully, coming back. We're going to talk more about him. You got Jerome Ford. Absolutely. Absolutely, you have Jerome Ford. You just brought in Naheem Hines late last year. You brought in Deontay Foreman. You brought in Pierre Strong in a trade last year from New England. All right? You brought him in on a trade. And then way back here, you got Aiden Robbins. All right? Here's the deal. If he's good, all right, what if Nick Chubb's not ready? He's in the last year of his deal. I mean, he did re-sign to go for another year, but that's not like a long-term solution with Chubb. What about Jerome Ford? He's in the final year of his deal, I do believe. And none of these other guys are featured backs, or you want to be a featured back. And I'm not saying Robbins becomes a featured back, but he absolutely could become part of the future plans here in Cleveland. Not only that, you know what your offensive line can do when healthy. Wells, Bitonio, Pocic, Teller, Conklin. You know what kind of running backs or what running backs can do behind this offensive line. The Browns have had a good running game since Stefanski got here. They had a good running game before he got here too. And I know what you're saying. Most of that's Chubb. Ford did fine last year. A lot of it's the line. And by the way, Ford did fine last year. Fine is the word. Okay? He did fine last year with a beat up offensive line. Beat up. Beat to crap, to be, completely honest. So why doesn't it make sense for when you have a big, good offensive line? All right. By the way, you just got Zach Zinter, too, out of Michigan. Go Blue. And, there's these things where it's like, why wouldn't you want a big downhill back? So if you have an offensive line that's already winning at the point of attack and you're getting 1, 2, 3 yards before you get touched and you're just 240 pounds, so you're not going to get brought backwards, that gives you a successful running game, doesn't it? I think this could be a really, really good thing. So I thought they did a good job with the very limited resources they had in this draft of building up the middle, all right, by drafting Mike Hall Jr., and then they went out and in the third round, that was in the second round, they got Mike Hall Jr., which, hate to say it as a Wolverine fan, but he's really good. I think he has ridiculous upside. All right, at a position that, you could use some help in the upcoming years at defensive tackle. You needed a D tackle. And then you go shore up the interior by getting Zach Zinter. No, I don't expect him to play year one unless there's injury. All right, but he absolutely is a starter for you going forward. Interesting. I'm pretty confident that Zach Zinter broke his tibia and fibula in the Michigan-Ohio State game, and I'm also pretty confident that Mike Hall was the guy who fell on it. So now they're teammates here in Cleveland. So you did a good job of reinforcing the middle of the defense and offensive lines. That's mature. And then you are like, we already have good running backs, but just in case, we're going to go get a UDFA that has some boom to them. I think that's a smart move. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have yet to do so, like and subscribe. We'll keep doing videos. There's a lot of draft stuff going on right now. You got to know about these players, and we'll keep talking about them. Thanks for watching. See ya.